Okay, great, and we're live. So welcome everybody to this Hangout on Air. My name is Lisette Sutherland, and I am interviewing people and companies who are doing great things remotely. And today I am joined by Yegor, and you are the founder and CTO of Team Daioh. And welcome. So I'm excited because I looked at your website, and we say here that you are developing software in an extremely distributed mode, where you have no meetings, no central office, no conference calls, not even Skype chats. So I'm super curious about this. You say you have a task management system, and the one thing that I really loved that was written was you call it Team as a Service.
That's right.
So I love. So tell us about Team.io and what you do, and we'll go from there. Oh, and really quickly before we start, if people have questions, please tweet it to #RemoteInterview, and we'll get questions answered now and in the future. So Yegor, please tell me all about it.
Yeah. So as you said, we develop software. So we, as many other companies in the world, we write software. We write custom software for our customers, and it's mostly web applications, a little bit of mobile applications, and sometimes client applications like standalone apps. So we use all the different technologies, like mainstream technologies, Java, Ruby, you name it. But the difference between us and other companies is that we don't have a central office, we don't have programmers in-house, we don't have people on the payroll. We we build distributed teams for every project. So every time we want to develop software, we create a team, we gather people from different parts of the world, from different countries, who actually know different technologies, and we put them together into a virtual team. And this team creates a piece of software, delivers it to the customer, and then we let these people go. And then we start another project. So all of our people, they work remotely, and that's the gist of it. So that's how it works. So we work in remote teams, we build these teams, and we know how to manage them. So we, as a company, it's a really small group of people. It's me and 4 project managers. So we know how to manage these people. For example, right now we're working with over 50 programmers, 50 developers, and we are managing them in approximately 10 different projects. So we're not a huge company, but this is how we look now. And we, as managers, we provide the management for these people, and we provide the technical supervisor of these people. And we know how to control this work in so extremely distributed way. Because why we call it extremely distributed? Because these people, we never communicate to each other. We never have any informal communications. So there's no Skype talks, like you said, no Skype conversations, no web conferences, not even emails, nothing informal except ticket system. So we use GitHub. In most cases, we use GitHub, and we use issue tracking system there. So we communicate with these programmers through tickets. We have a lot of discussions, all the technical discussions, they all happen in a ticketing system, which actually looks similar to open source development. When people develop open source, when people develop products which are free and open source, they do it in a similar way. They also have programmers from everywhere. They also have people working from different places. They also don't have the central office. They don't have salaries. They don't have anyone on the payroll. So this is just a virtual groups of people who can contribute with their code to the main code base, and they do it through ticket system.
So it's like the open source programming movement, except for now you've monetized it into a company form for specific projects. It sounds like. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Yes, it's fair. We're actively contributing to open source, and we are actually the open source influence us. So we learn a lot from open source communities. So we see how open source products are developed. We see that there's a lot of success in open source world. So we see that a lot of open source software is actually more successful than commercial software, and we learn from there. So we learn from this more chaotic and more unorganized environment compared to traditional commercial development, and we see that this is more effective. So we actually decided, like a few years ago, we decided to bring this philosophy from open source to commercial area. And now we are much more successful than any other companies because, well, I've wrote a lot of articles about it, a lot of comparisons. So we are financially more successful. The projects are, less expensive and more financially effective. The projects we produce have much higher quality of code, and the programmers are much more satisfied. The motivation is much higher.
So how do you know everybody? How did you build this network of programmers?
That's a good question. We started like 5 years ago, and that time it was me mostly posting ads on like websites like Elance, like Odesk, just asking people to join us to join our projects. But now I don't need to do this. I'm getting like from 5 to 10 emails every day from different programmers. They just find our websites and they just email me asking for, can I join you? Like, this is my hourly rate. This is how much I want to be paid for an hour. This is the list of my technologies I know. This is my technical stack. Just let me join you guys. And if I understand that the developer, the programmer is good enough, then I just bring him in. So I don't need to advertise anymore. People just find my website and they just ask me to join our team.
So what is it, do you think? Why are people so excited to work in this way, in this business model? I mean, that's pretty unique. Tons of companies hire headhunters to go out and find people for them, and you have people emailing you regularly for this. So something's different here. What's in it for the people?
Well, first of all, I think it's freedom. I think it's freedom. They are free to work. They have a lot of freedom when they work with us. We don't, well, this is also our unique advantage, is that we don't set deadlines. We don't set milestones to people. We don't push people anywhere. We don't put any pressure on developers. We have some kind of a model which assumes that developers can fail any task. So when we have more developers than we need, usually. So when traditionally the traditional project may need, for example, like 3 developers or 5 programmers, let's say 5 programmers, we have 25. So we put much more people on one project than any other company can do. And we distribute our task among all these 25 programmers. And we have a lot of redundancy. So if one programmer fails, then we have another person who can help, who can actually pick up this task and finish it in time. So we are as good as management that we don't need programmers to be good in time management. So we assume that programmers may fail. We assume that they cannot properly control and manage their time. We just give them tasks. If they fail, we give this task to somebody else. So we control that, and because of that, the programmers feel completely free at what they are doing. So they don't need to deliver something by tomorrow, otherwise they will get some punishment, or they will get a call from the manager and they will get some pressure from us. That's not the case. We just give them tasks and tell them, do them when you can, do them when you have time.
And if you notice they're not getting done, you put somebody else on it, or
if it's not getting done, we put somebody else on the same task. So we have more tasks than people. Well, we have a lot of tasks. We break down this is also our unique feature, is that when we develop a project, we break the project down into really huge amount of small tasks. So normally our task, which we give to the programmer, is half an hour of work. So it's 30 minutes of work. We don't give tasks like, this is for you for a week of work or for a month of work. We just give you a half an hour task. And we give you 50 of these tasks. So we give you a big amount of small micro tasks, and you get in and you implement them, you do them when you have time. So if you don't have time today, no problem. We can give this task to somebody else. So we are, on our side, we're able to manage this huge amount of tasks among these many developers. So it's a really complex management idea, complex management mission, but we can do it. We have instruments, we have tools for that, we have a lot of knowledge for that. I'm talking about management. So we can actually manage a huge amount of people and a huge amount of tasks at the same time. And that's
who breaks down the tasks? Sorry to interrupt.
That's us. This is our management know-how. Yes, we have a few patented technologies. We have a few patents about that. We have a few really unique and secret ideas about how we do that. And we are experimenting with them for the last 4 years. And now they work quite perfectly. So we complete projects successfully, and we can do this. So we can do this breakdown, and we can do this management. This is our unique feature.
And then the question that came to mind is, if you have all this redundancy, how is it financially viable? I mean, if you have one person's working on a task and say he fails, which is fair because we fail in these things when we're working on things, or we should fail. That's a good thing. So do you pay them for their time even though that they failed, or do you just pay for how does that work?
That's a good question. We don't pay for failures. So if I give you the task, you try to do it, you fail, you're never going to pay. I give it to another programmer. Then another programmer tries. If he fails again, I don't spend the money of my client. And then I give this task to the next programmer, and this programmer succeeds. And in this case, I pay for the programmer, and I get this money from the client. So it's a model of, we don't put pressure on programmers. We don't punish them. We don't tell them what to do. But if they fail, they don't get the money. That's the idea. But the tasks are so small and so micro, so this is half an hour, that the risk is not that huge. So you don't risk a lot as being a programmer, because if I give you the task, you immediately understand that like this task I cannot complete. You can just say it up front. I don't like this task. Give me something else. And in this case, no problem. Don't waste your time. I'll give it to somebody else. So you only start the tasks which you know you will complete. If you don't like the task, if you understand that you will not be able to finish it, don't start it. Tell me, give me something else, and we will give you something else.
Okay, so they haven't spent a whole day. It's just half an hour at the very most if they haven't gotten it. So
well, usually programmers spend, like the average programmer works for us approximately 5 hours a week. So it's not a full time at all. Yeah, so they don't work full time. They work like 5 hours, sometimes 10 hours, sometimes they spend nothing. Sometimes they just go on vacation, sometimes they don't work. So it's really flexible model and a lot of freedom. So all of the people who work for us, they work somewhere on a full time. They work for us as a part time, as a freelance. So when they have time, when they're in a good mood, they work for us.
Okay. And now, so you say you don't have meetings, you don't have Skype conversations going back and forth, but what about team building? What about the team building aspect of this? Is it necessary? I mean, maybe if everybody just has half-hour tasks, it's not really necessary to build a team, but what about that component?
Well, in our case, we don't have that. We don't have it all, and we also don't really believe in that. So we believe that the true team building is you don't need to do it if your tasks are interesting for programmers. If you give the technically challenging tasks, if the problems you solve are interesting, if you pay well enough, you don't need a team building. You don't need to tell people how good we are, how good is our team, how it's nice to work here. They will just get it from the task you give them and the money you pay them. So if you pay them well enough and the tasks you give them are challenging, interesting, and complex, and they can solve them, they can see how they can grow with your tasks, that's enough for them. We have people who stay with us for 4 years already, programmers, and I never talk to them. I never saw them. I don't know their names. I just know their email addresses. And they work with me for 4 years. This is the true team building. They don't leave the team. They don't go anywhere else. They just stay with us. They enjoy working here. They enjoy growing with us. And there is nothing like this team building at all.
Interesting. So are there any friendships that form naturally through that? I mean, people contact each other outside of the working, or you don't know?
I don't know. I don't know about that. So maybe, but I don't know. We're not actually, yes, we have a lot of conversations about technical stuff. We talk a lot in this ticketing system. We talk a lot when we discuss technical problems, but all these discussions are formal, like in open source, for example. You talk in the ticket, you ask the question, you get the answer. You talk with your colleagues, with your well, not friends, but people who work with you. But at the same time, in the end, it's all about the deliverables. It's all about the code you write. If you write the code, if you like the code you write, if the people who work with you also like your code, and if you get paid well for this work, that's all you need, I think. Not just my opinion. That's what people tell me who work with me. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that the results-oriented environment is a crucial component for any remote working. So it sounds like you've just gone extreme with the results-only work environment. You are truly 100% results-oriented.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the result. It's all about the result. If you deliver results, we pay you for this result, and we pay well, so our rates are higher than anywhere else. So we pay well. The results are appreciated. Then you will be fine, and you don't need this team building, waste of money and time, I think.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a perspective. I mean, but in every single interview I do, the challenges, which is what I want to talk about next, is what is challenging for you in this work model in this team. But everybody always says communication and trust. How do you build trust on the team? How do you communicate better? But it sounds like your challenges, I'm going to guess that they're different.
Well, yeah, in our case, the challenges are a bit different. So our biggest challenge is to find the right people to work with us. So the mentality of the mindset of people in often the
And you mean
mindset
clients, right?
is
You mean
beautiful. Yeah, the mindset of people who come to us and say, I would like to work with you. Not all of them can actually work in this model. In our statistics, 50% of programmers can actually stay with us, and 50% would just lose them. So they cannot keep up with this work. They are not result oriented. So they don't like to be focused on results every day. They more like used to the model of work. When they go to the office, they sit there for 8 hours and they get paid. So all they have to do is be in the office, do what the boss says, and get paid. When they come to us, there's completely different. There is no boss in here. I give you 5 tasks. When you finish them, you get the money. I'm not going to ask you when you're going to finish it. I'm not going to have these Scrum meetings, for example, in the morning. I'm not going to ask you every day what's the status of this 5 tasks. But when the time is over, I'm going to just say, okay, you don't have these tasks anymore. Goodbye. And some people get the frustration, like, why didn't you remind me about the tasks? Why didn't you tell me like I have to do them? I forgot that. Like, the people are used to be micromanaged every day. This is what the situation in the industry is. So programmers are used to micromanagement, especially with these morning stand-ups and regular meetings and all this stuff which we have in traditional programming. And when they come to us, they have the same mindset, and it's difficult for us to change the mindset. And only 50% of people stay. So this is our biggest challenge: is actually how to get more people into our team, how to train them or to educate them or to change their mindset. This is difficult for us.
It's interesting, in one of the interviews that I did, Phil Montero was his name. He said, in college, we are not micromanaged like we are in the job world. Like at university, you're said, this is what it takes to get an A. Your research paper is due at the end of the semester. How you get it done, however, if you do it the night before, if you spend all semester doing it, is the way that you do it. And then as soon as we hit the workforce, it's totally changed. All of a sudden we get micromanaged with the boss saying, you can't possibly get this work done without me watching you in the office. And so it sounds like, so what I'm hearing is there's people that go out of the university mode into the job mode where they're getting micromanaged, and they can't ever switch back into the mode. Or lots of people don't go to university anymore, especially programmers. I mean, you can learn programming on your own, of course, but lots of people don't switch back into that mode. So it's interesting that that's the biggest challenge, that people are used to being micromanaged.
This is our problem. Yeah, they used to be micromanaged. Yeah, and the older they are, the bigger the problem. This is usually the situation. So they've spent a lot of time in the office. They've spent a lot of time on this payroll mode, when it doesn't matter whether you deliver something or not. You still get paid by the end of the month. So this is the traditional, model of work. This is how programmers work now, the majority of them. So they don't really care about the result. They care about, does my boss like me? Or do I go to the office on time? Or, I don't know, do I have a lot of conflicts with my colleagues? And all these questions, which have nothing to do with the result. So people don't really care whether the quality of my code is high enough. This question is rarely asked. The more traditional questions are like, do I fit into the society? Do I fit in this environment? Do other programmers like me? And this is what people work for, well, traditionally. In our case, we don't care about all of this. We don't care whether anybody likes you or not. We don't care about what time do you work on. You can work at night. You can work, like you said, you can do everything in the last minute, or you can spend the whole week doing this task. We don't care about it. We just care about the result, and the result has to be high quality. If your result is not the quality of the result is not high enough, we just don't pay you. It doesn't matter whether you're a good person, whether anybody likes you, or you have a lot of conflicts. It doesn't matter at all. We're completely objective in our evaluation of your results.
So do you think that this kind of results-oriented environment could work in a non-IT setting? I mean, because it sounds like these tasks, it's very specific. That it's kind of key. How you've done this micro task aspect of it is key and crucial to your business model, because you've really got straightforward objectives, straightforward goals. You know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. But in other places where maybe it's a little bit more wishy-washy, is that possible?
Well, we've never tried it before, so we're only working with software development, so we don't know. But this is our strategy to get on different markets as well, maybe in the future. But for now, we're really focused on programming, on software development. But you're right, definitely. This approach can work on different markets as well.
Seems to me, absolutely. I mean, yeah, what it makes me think of is it's like a truly agile way of working when you've taken things down to this small level, and agile actually has something to teach the remote working world about how to work, which is the truly results oriented. So it's really exciting to hear about this.
Yeah.
So in terms of managing this, then there's a whole different way of managing remote teams. And what do you do to manage your team? Is it, I mean, you've got this task system. It's just hard for me to envision. There's no meetings, there's no talking to each other. It's what does the management look like?
Well, imagine you're the programmer, and I hire you, and we have a project. And for example, you are a programmer, you can write some code, so I want to, well, now I have to manage you.
Sorry, we had some sound issues for a second, so if you could start that sentence again. It cut out for some reason.
Okay, can you hear now?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine you are the programmer, and I have to manage you. So I have to give you the tasks, and then you have to deliver the result. That's how it looks for you. You get a ticket in, for example, in GitHub. So you get a ticket assigned to your name, and the ticket explains what you have to do. So in the ticket it says you have to write this module which has to do these things, and the module should look like this and this. So it's more or less high-level definition of your task. And there is a budget for this task. So you have 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes. It means that when you complete the task, and one of other programmers will do the code review of your task. The code will review the results, and then we get your results and put into mainstream of development and into master branch, so-called. Then your task is done, and you get paid for half an hour. You start to do it. You start to work with this task. If you have questions, if you have problems, if something is not clear, then you submit a problem to us. So you create another ticket and say, like, look, I was working on the task A, but now I have a problem. I don't understand how this, and that should be done. So I don't have enough documentation, for example. And every time you submit a problem like this, we pay you for that as well. This is also quite unique stuff. Yeah, this is really also a unique feature for us. So the more bugs, the more problems you submit, the more problems you report, we pay for each of them. So we give you a thank you. We appreciate your effort to make our software better. So every time you report a problem, you get paid. So while you're working on task A, you can submit like 5 other problems, saying the documentation is not clear, this one is not clear, this one doesn't work, I need help here. And for 5 of them, you will get money as well. And then when all the problems are solved and you have enough information to solve the main task, then you complete the main task, you deliver your result, all online. You don't need to talk to anybody. So you don't need the Skype meeting, because for Skype meeting, nobody's going to pay you. But if you have questions, submit a question, get money for that, and then get an answer. So you don't need to communicate with anybody informally. You do everything formally. And then when your result is done, when the software is written and the piece of code is ready, then you submit it, you create a pull request. This is the GitHub feature. You create a pull request, we get a code review, we review everything, we merge your stuff, the task is done, and you get paid immediately. We pay
immediately.
Immediately, yeah. You get money immediately, the same minute. We pay through PayPal.
Okay.
So you don't wait till the end of the month. You get money immediately. So if you complete the task, you get the money, you can walk away immediately. You can say, okay, I'm done with this project. This is the one task. I completed it. I don't like it anymore. I go. No problem. If you want to stay, you stay more. You get more tasks. You complete more tasks. You continue, and you get paid by the end of the task almost immediately as soon as the task is done.
It sounds like it could be a lot of overhead, potentially. I mean, you're paying people, potentially every 30 minutes you're paying a few programmers. So is that difficult?
Well, we have. This is what we. This is all. This is our job. So this is we know how to do it. We have
Yeah.
tools for that. We have instruments for that. We know how to do this management. But you're right, absolutely. This is quite an overhead. This would be an overhead for a traditional project manager, because a traditional project manager is busy with the Skype meetings and team buildings and all this stuff. We are busy with something else. We're busy of delivering, getting the results from people and paying them, getting results and making sure they get the money from us. So and also we are busy. The main task for us is actually to control and to merge all these results into one big product. So we get multiple micro results from tens of people, from hundreds of people sometimes, and we need to be sure that all of these micro changes, all of these small modules, they actually stick together and they actually combine. They can be combined into a solid product. So this is our job. This is what we have to do, and we know how to do it.
So are there any issues that you have then? I mean, because you must have programmers from all over the world, it sounds like. Do you
Yes.
have issues then with any sort of cultural, or does PayPal work all over? Are there issues that you run into with the global aspect of it?
Well, that's a good question. We had some problems before. Like in some cultures, people, well, again, our main problem is the mindset of people. And sometimes in some countries, the mindset is the problem is worse. In some countries, it's less critical. In well-developed countries like America, Western Europe, Canada, people are more, and Russia, for example, as well, the programmers are more used to this, like I already explained. Programmers are more used to the from 9 till 5 office mode. So they don't really want to work for the result, they want to work for the time. So they want to be paid for the time spent, not for the results generated. That was our original problem. So every time, and still the problem exists. So every time the programmer comes from America, from the United States, we actually, we are trying to explain him upfront what issues he or she may have. Like, expect the problem. Expect that we are different. We're working in a different mode. So you won't be paid if you don't deliver. If you do not produce the result, don't expect us to appreciate that. We will just say no. And people from America and from Western Europe, they quite often get sometimes really frustrated about that. This is the cultural problem. Another cultural, like you just mentioned, the PayPal doesn't work for example, in India it's a problem, or in the Philippines it's a problem. So in this case, we're using Odesk. Odesk works everywhere, so we pay through PayPal, and sometimes we pay through Odesk.
Okay.
We solved that problem. Odesk is fine. The Odesk is more expensive than PayPal for us, but we cover all the expenses because we're still quite effective.
I'm surprised that there's so much issues with people in the Western cultures wanting to be more paid for time than results. Somehow, I just thought, when you think of the U.S., you kind of think of freedom. It's one of the core values supposedly, but it doesn't seem to be the case. People don't want to be tuned in and engaged with their work. They want to be paid, and then they want to go home and do something else.
Exactly, yeah. People used to this model, so they want to be paid for just sitting in the office and spending time in the office. No matter what I do, no matter how good is my code, no matter how much I wrote today, it doesn't matter. Just give me the money. And the effectiveness, the amount of results they produce, is extremely lower than the results our programmers produce. We did some analysis about that. We did some comparisons. Like we were trying to analyze how much of these features or lines of code or files or whatever, just some measurable, like some number, we tried to measure how much people in the office produce comparing to people who work with us. And the numbers are so different. It's like sometimes it's 20 times. Sometimes the difference is like 20 times. So for example, the programmer sitting in the office somewhere in Paris, for example, he's writing, say, 100 lines of code a week. Our programmers, they write 100 lines of code an hour. So this is the difference. This is how much the difference is. So
are there any other things that your team struggles with that you know of? I mean, besides the results oriented, are there?
Well, we still have some problems. I don't want to talk about them that much, so I don't want to, to tell a lot about them. We still have some difficulties. We are growing. We're investigating. We're doing a lot of research, and we are always improving. Of course, we have some problems here and there sometimes, but on the overall result, my background, I started 10 years ago to do outsourcing of software development, and I had about 100 people in the office. So I employed them. So I was managing 100 programmers sitting in the same office and doing software development for customers from America, Europe, everywhere. So this is what I had 10 years ago. So I know all the problems which I had before, and now I know the problems or results which I have now. This is two completely different worlds.
Yeah.
So the collocated development, in-house development, sitting in the same office, is a completely different story. The problems which you have there, they're not comparable to the problems or difficulties we have now. So now we are much more effective. We have much more freedom. We give much better products to our customers. So we are doing much better now, comparing to ourselves 10 years ago and to other companies now.
So what do you like personally most about it? It sounds like you like the freedom about this most of all.
Well, freedom, yes. I like the freedom, and I like the quality. So I really like the quality. I'm a programmer myself. I write a lot of code myself, Java, Ruby. I write a lot of code. And I like the code. I like to see the code which is of high quality. So
It's like
I enjoy
art.
programmer. Yeah, I enjoy programming. I enjoy this industry. I enjoy this profession. And I like to work with people who actually share the same passion as me. So now I really work with these people. I really work with people who share the same passion. They also enjoy writing high quality code, and I enjoy being in this environment. So this is like a pleasure for me. It's not just business. I'm not just making money. I'm also getting a lot of pleasure, a lot of enjoyment every day by working with people who care about software quality and who care about object-oriented programming, high quality design, and everything like this.
Yeah, it sounds like it's inspiring to work
Yes.
with people like that.
Yes.
Yeah, because when you see a really good piece of code, I can imagine it's like looking at a piece of art. I mean, you think it's not just about the task, it's also about how you got it done and how beautiful is it.
Exactly, yes.
So, and the other benefits that I have, on a look at your website, you said there's no waste of money because you don't pay salaries. You can expand and contract, it sounds like, based on what work is coming in and out. So there's no huge risk to the company if you don't have a lot of projects.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. If, for example, and not just that, but for example, on one project, we need a good engineer or a number of developers, number of architects or designers who are familiar with some technology which is quite rare on the market. So we need to get them somewhere. So we find them, we contract them, we work with them in one project, but we don't need them on the second project. So if these people would be on a payroll, then it's a huge risk for us. We still need to pay them for the whole year or for as long as the contract stays. If these people are contractors and we just found them and paid them like $200 an hour, sometimes we pay that much. So we pay them $200 an hour. They work for us for like 20 hours, 40 hours, and then they just go. We just say thank you, and they go back to their full-time work, and we continue with other projects. So we are flexible enough to find whoever we need on the market, to bring them into our project, work with them, pay them well, and then release the team and go to another project where we need completely different people with completely different skill set.
So it sounds like it's up to the people that you hire too. I mean, everybody's becoming more entrepreneurial. So each person is responsible for their own work, their own whatever taxes they need to pay. Each person is responsible, and you guys are sort of the hub of operations doling out the work. Exactly. So you're doing all the marketing and all the business relationships, the client development,
yes.
And yeah, it sounds brilliant to me. It just sounds like that's the way work should be done.
Thanks. Yeah, for me too.
So let's see. So we've got the no waste of money because you don't pay salaries. There's less bugs because you pay people to fix them. I really like that you've incentivized people to respond and on how to improve your own software. That seems crucial. That seems motivating to people. Like they're appreciated for.
Yep.
Right, and it's more than just a thank you. It's actually money, which is also motivating for people.
Yes.
So then you've got the targeted skills because you don't have programmers in-house, so you go out and find the people that you need. The higher quality of code. I love that it really matters. I love that it's inspirational. I think that's a key differentiator in business today of people who love what they do versus people who are just doing their job. So, and then unlimited talent pool, paying the best rates for engineers.
Yes, which means when the customer comes to me and say, look, for example, like 2 days ago, I had a conversation with the customer who is developing a platform which is based on Hadoop, which is a big data technology. We don't have right now Hadoop engineers in-house. We didn't work with them before, but the customer needs a few good people with this technology. So what do? We go to the market. We put on the market, we find these people on the market. We can find them on Elance, we can find them on Odesk, on Stack Overflow. We can find them. We can bring these people in. So we have access to this unlimited pool of talents because we don't need to hire them. We don't need to contract them for full time. We just approach them and say, look, guys, we have a nice gig for you, a nice job for like a few weeks of work, and we're going to pay you really high rates, which you cannot get anywhere else. So, and our work is really motivated, the technologies are interesting, so please join us. And they will join us for a few weeks. And the customer will get what he cannot get anywhere else. Because for him to find a company or a group of engineers who are really professional in this Hadoop technology, he will spend like, I don't know, thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe, I don't know, hundreds of thousands to build a team which will be able to manage this, to work with these technologies. With us, he will just pay for the specific amount of time which we specifically need for his specific project.
Right, because you know how to go out and find the people. That's sort of a specialty. That's a service that you offer. Your team is a service.
Team is a service, exactly. Yes.
Right, because you guys are out all the time looking for new people, and people are contacting you. Right.
Yes.
That's what you do. Right. So that's your sort of the distinctive edge in that. So I'm looking through all the different aspects of remote working. So that the tools we've talked about, the tools that you've used. Are there any? They're very specific to programmers. But when you think about people in the real world who don't do development and programming, maybe the marketing people or the HR people, are there other tools that are maybe more generic that you also use that other people would know?
That's for the future. Right now, we're really focused on programming. So, but this is possible. As I said, this is the future. Maybe in the next 5 years, we'll get there. We'll try there. But for the next 5 years, we'll definitely be focused on programming. So we have all the instruments and tools and management techniques which really work in software development world. We don't know how will they work in marketing or whatever, or sales.
Right.
Yeah, you call it. I don't know. Maybe they will work. But for now, we don't have that experience. So we're now really focused on software development. And we don't have people like that. We have only programmers. We only have this pool of talents, which are only programmers. We have the history of working with programmers. We know how to find them. We know how to control them. So we're really like software development. We're about software development.
Right, and it's not, and I don't necessarily expect that you would know other things. I'm just trying to dig in to just try to see, what are the other gems that you can offer people who are trying to, maybe that's the next question actually, is what advice do you have for people who would like to go more towards a results-oriented model? I bet most companies, they're just not going to be able to do this for all kinds of reasons, but say somebody wants to move in this direction, what advice would you offer?
Only one, hire us.
I was going to offer the same advice. Call you.
Well, seriously, we've spent years of research, years of investigation, years of errors and mistakes and money wasted. So it's a lot of experience and a lot of the long journey, which a lot of time we've spent, and we learned a lot of lessons. So it's not that easy. You cannot just go to one company and say, look, tomorrow you're going to start working remotely. It's not going to work. We tried it before. We tried to help bigger companies to work remotely. It just doesn't work because of the mindset problem, because of the financial situation they have, because of the traditions they have, because of the people who are actually against this remote mode of work. So it's not that easy. And I think I can say it's impossible, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
So we are kind of ahead of everybody else in this term.
Oh, by a long shot.
Yeah,
by a long shot. It sounds awesome. So where do you work from personally? Do you work from home or a co-working space? What's your remote space like?
Well, sometimes I work from Starbucks. Sometimes I work from home. Sometimes I have this co-working space. Sometimes I have clients who need me personally be co-located with them in order to understand the architecture. So when the client is big enough and interesting enough for us, then I personally can spend a few weeks, a few months in their office, sitting next to their programmers to understand what they need and help them to manage us, our distributed team. So sometimes I'm working inside the office, like called on-site, co-located with the customer. Sometimes if I don't need that, I can work anywhere. So I'm as well one of the team members in our team. So when we build a project, when we start a project, we invite like 25 programmers from everywhere, and me myself is also one of them. I write code as well. I write the architecture. I architect the code. I write code sometimes. I do the code reviews. So I'm the member of the team. So I can also work from anywhere, from home, for example.
Do you have a favorite place?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing. Depends on the job I'm doing. If the job requires thinking and designing something difficult, where I need a concentration, I like the coffee shop, Starbucks, something like this. So I get really concentrated when there is a lot of people around me. And when the job is routine and I just need to control something, to check something, I can stay home.
Okay.
So that's my personal.
Curious. Yeah, I just like to see how do other people work. Like, for instance, I prefer my apartment because it's super quiet, the internet's reliable, you know, I know where everything is, you know.
Yeah.
So I never go to coffee shops unless I'm traveling, for instance. So I'm just curious about other people's remote working situations. So now, is there any questions that I haven't asked that you wish I'd asked, or is there anything else that you want to talk about how you guys work, the benefits or the challenges or the tools or advice, tips? Don't do this.
Well, I think you've asked a lot of questions, and you actually, well, I was really pleased and a little bit surprised and pleased that you actually understood our model just from reading our website. So you asked the right questions from the start, which means either you are too smart or our website is too good. So
I'd like to think it could be both.
both, yes.
No, but this way of working is my world. I'm exploring and talking to people who are moving in this direction, and I haven't found many companies. I mean, maybe the one company, Starter Squad, who work similar, but even they are very focused on team building. They really have the communication. They've got hip chat where they're talking to each other all day long, and they've got, you know, informal communication going on. And this sounds much more extreme in terms of the results oriented. So I love it. I love the concept. But no, your website seems very clear. I would think that as a developer, people who are wanting to work this way, that people would contact you right away. It sounds like it's a matter more of clients. How do you find clients who want to work in this way?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, this is also a problem for us because it's, as well as the mindset of developers needs to be changed, and, you know, not all of the developers can work with us. The same for customers. Not all customers can work with us. Not all customers can understand and appreciate this model, because as well as developers are used to micromanagement, as well as customers are used to micromanaging their developers. So right. This is, and also customers are asking sometimes this question: what about the team building? What about getting all these people together for a barbecue? What about getting to know each other and talk to each other? And how can they develop the software for me if they don't know my wife? Some kind of this question.
Right. So, yeah. That sounds ridiculous when you say it like that.
Yeah, but this is what of course I'm a little bit, making fun of it, but in reality that sounds like it. So the customers, instead of starting from defining the deliverables and results and how much they're going to pay for the results, they start from inviting programmers to their house and telling them how interesting it could be, and all this team building, a noise, which we call. But yeah, but this is actually a noise for us, as well as we understand. But some customers say, no, we need that. We think that only this is how we can develop something good. This is the only way you can actually guarantee the results. Is only when developers will personally care about me, will personally care about business and all that stuff. And in this case, we cannot help. So it's difficult for us. Sometimes we just say no to the customer. Like, we can't help you because this is not the way we work. So we just say sorry. Like we say sorry to programmers. We quite often say sorry to both sides. So we say, We cannot work with you because your mindset is not okay, and we cannot do a project for you because you're not ready to have a team, an extremely distributed team, and a team which is the result oriented. We cannot provide you the team which will talk all day long on Skype. This is not the team we can manage. We can't manage this type of team. We can manage the team which is completely result-oriented and the team who gets money for every piece of result that the team delivers. If you're not okay with this, then sorry. So
you have
yes,
to filter the clients.
It's a challenging task for us. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to filter the clients as well as the programmers that you work with for the people that are able to do this kind of work.
Yes.
Interesting. That I love the setting aside all the. I'm writing a white paper right now with somebody on virtual friendships, let's say, or virtual team building, and the importance of it. So I love this concept of just take the whole thing out. Let's just go to results oriented and deliver. Love it. Love it. Great. So if people want to learn more about you, what's the best place to go? We've got the website, so team.io. And
yeah, that's the place you start. Yes, that's the place you start. And I have my own personal blog, which is also, you can find a link to it from the website. And I'm open to communication always. So you can find my contacts. You can email me. I always respond to emails. You can find me on Twitter. So I'm really interested. As I told you, this is my life. It's not just my business. So I'm always interested to talk about it, talk about software development, to talk about management, about project management, how we can do it better. So anybody who can talk to me, who can reach me, who can find me, can do it personally. Just find me personally and we'll talk.
How do you find the time for all of this?
No, I work a lot. Yeah, I work a lot, and yeah, I'm spending a lot of time in front of the computer. I love to do this, so it's my life.
Yeah, I have the same. I love, people always say, oh, you work so much, and I think, well, when you like it, is it work? Yeah.
I don't call it work. I don't call it work. It's like a hobby. It's not like my business, which I do in order to make money. It's like a hobby, it's like a joy. It's fun.
It sounds like the ideal in work-life integration. It's like it's work-life fusion. It's everything.
Absolutely.
Love it. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have for right now, though I'm sure that once I know that with every interview, once I start writing them up, I usually go back to people and ask them follow-up questions. But really enjoyed hearing about this today.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks. All right. Well, that's it then for today's interview, everybody. Thanks so much for joining, and until the next time, be powerful.